And we are live for our Halloween special here on Handle with Scare, presented by the Slashing Cast Podcast Network. Our podcast, primarily deals with horror movies and it focuses at the emphasize, but we are in Spooktober. We're dressed up for the occasion. It's Halloween week. A lot of great things on the rise. My 61 Days of Halloween stream slowly winding down. Cabinet of Curiosities officially out on Netflix as a special 4-day event. A lot of stuff happening in a short amount of time. And tonight, we're really celebrating Halloween. More specifically, Spirit Halloween is a movie we'll be reviewing tonight. This is a 2022 release, another new release, based, of course, on the very popular pop-up store for Halloween, which I'm sure all of us are very familiar with. And, of course, to help review that and discuss the movie with me are my co-hosts. Up first, we have Holly, Hooch, and John.
Hi, good. I'm the bride of Frankenstein, sort of. I didn't have a lot of time.
And I'm a Spirit Store employee. And I'm the Spirit Store employee from this movie.
Perfect.
Who doesn't really... you're there to clean up the mess, really. Let's be real. You lock up and then you clean up the mess in the morning. But yeah, this is going to be a more lighthearted episode because this is a more family-friendly movie that we're reviewing. But, we all dress up for the occasion. I'm your ghost with the most. I'm dressed up as Beetlejuice. I can't see, but that's fine. We don't need to see. It's fine. I don't need show notes. Whatever. Fuck it. But we also have a recurring guest. That is, I can't even see the guy, so I don't know what the hell is going on right now. So, Grindhouse Zombie's here somewhere.
Hey, there he is.
Basically packing everything except the kitchen sink with him here tonight. We got Art the Clown.
Nice.
All right.
So are you both wearing contacts right now?
No, I'm not wearing any
okay.
contacts. He is.
You just can't wear your glasses so you're blind.
Oh, I see.
I can see how your eyeballs aren't focusing on anything.
Yes, so for those that don't know, Terrifier 2 officially coming out on Streambox on Halloween. It's also playing in 1,500 plus screens or theaters for Halloween week as well. Actually got to see it finally, and man, what a ride it's been, but I can't wait for you guys to all see it.
Nice.
Sounds awesome.
I haven't seen it yet.
Me either.
Yeah.
Zombie, have you seen it yet? You're going to have to talk, though, because otherwise the camera won't go on you. Three times.
Nice.
My God. And you masturbated all of 2 times.
You climaxed 3 times during one showing.
Yeah, that must be what it is. We'll see how long he has this bit going. But anyways, so we got Spirit Halloween, the movie, of course, based on the pop-up book. And I thought, it's pretty interesting. I was curious to see, whether or not, they just, confronted Spirit Halloween to be like, hey, be the center, of our movie. And then that's kind of, how it came out to be. But, I thought just a general setup of the movie, setting up, Christopher Lloyd, trying to foreclose a wayward home, and then getting Gypsy Curse was absolutely hysterical because, of course, you have the running gag of oh, I'm gonna make you believe that this is actually working, only to make light of the situation and then have it come back to bite you in the ass.
Anybody who's willing to give a bag of money to Christopher Lloyd is okay by me. So that man is a national treasure, and I was really, really happy to see him in a movie.
Yeah. I hate to say I had the moment of, oh, he's still alive.
Yeah, I think we all did. Good for you, Christopher.
I know, exactly. I was like, oh, awesome. Okay.
How awkward.
He's still working. He's still out there in movies. That's cool. I did just watch Roger Rabbit
really?
recently again, which is a great movie.
That was
yeah, he's in that. He plays the villain.
I can still name off all of the sexual icons from my coming of age story, which included the voice of Batman from the animated series, Kevin Conroy, Jessica Rabbit, of course, Elvira, of course, Bruce Campbell, of course,
but
Prince Philip from Sleeping Beauty, of course, and Sleeping Beauty from Sleeping Beauty, of course.
I don't know that one.
He's just very handsome, and oddly enough, it looks like Joe. So, I guess I'm a type.
Tangent.
Sorry. Oh, excuse me for my little tangent.
Just kidding. Excuse me. But yeah, I went to the spirit store just to get my costume, to go there and peruse as you do and figure something out. And I did end up going with this because I do like the shirts.
It's a good shirt.
It's a pretty cool shirt.
I mean, after putting on a pound of makeup, I was a little annoyed that it was just a t-shirt, but it looks really good and it's a good gag.
I should have gotten the name tag, maybe. But they didn't actually have name tags there, so...
You don't need to remember this person's name. That store isn't going to be there in about 2 weeks, so...
they did have a guy walking around
1 week
who had the arm thing that one of them... the monster that had the sort of circular saw attachment to it?
Yeah.
There was a guy, an employee, who was wearing that.
That was a really funny bit. We'll get to that, but that was probably one of the funniest parts in the movie where... Well, I won't get ahead of myself. It was I don't know, we like the movie, right? That's the general consensus. It's super cute.
You have to, obviously you can't treat it like a full-fledged,
no, it's a baby horror
movie. It's for kids. Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, the younger generations are kind of, I'm sort of jealous because there's so much horror content for younger people now that kind of wasn't
That's age appropriate
back in the day.
No, back then you had to watch tits when you were really underage and see somebody eviscerated.
Yeah, there wasn't really young adult horror in the day. Kinda, but barely. I
mean, Goosebumps, but that was already in the 90s.
Yeah, that's still the 90s. Yeah, it doesn't even go. And maybe you have with this, I can't believe this popped in my head, but Escape to Witch Mountain, which is sort of horror, kind of almost. But
I mean, I remember the name, but I don't remember the story.
It's an 80s. I'm not sure if it's a movie or a TV made for TV movie, but it's from the 80s, early 80s, and it's these two kids who kind of have abilities. And then there's a mountain that might be haunted called Witch Mountain.
The whole mountain is haunted.
I guess. I forget the details. I haven't seen it in a long time. But then I think it turns out to be aliens the whole time and the kids are... But it's kind of a horror movie for kids.
And The Rock redid that movie, huh?
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, so there's it's cool that there's horror content.
Because I mean the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark that came out last year, and
that was pretty good.
Pretty good for again, appropriate horror, which is neat, And then I also, as I was just kind of going through content online on the streaming services, Tubi has Tales from the Crypt, the animated series. I didn't even know that existed, so I watched that.
When did that come out?
What's that?
When did that come out?
From the 90s, from the early mid-90s.
Is it adult or for kids?
It's for kids, yeah. So that was kind of neat too. Just a lot of, I guess the 90s was when it started turning around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, can I date myself just a little bit here? Best for me, best horror for kids, because this came out when my kids were little. Scooby-Doo on Zombie
I
Island.
haven't seen that. Nice. It's good.
Since we're reviewing a kids movie, should we try not to like curse or anything in case like people that are not?
I mean, I already broke
Yeah,
it. So,
I already said tits when I was talking about 80s horror movies and evisceration, but that's an okay word.
And sexual awakening.
Sexual awakening.
Yeah, if we're trying to preserve the purity of this for kids, I don't see any fucking reason why we shouldn't try to not fucking curse.
Also, I already
did anyone swear? Yeah. Was it PG-13?
Of course,
was it
I think
PG?
so. Right?
Was there some swearing at all?
I don't think there was swearing at all.
And,
I mean,
well, but it had camel toe.
Oh
so
my God.
this was. I would say it's not PG-13. I would say it's somewhere in between.
No, definitely. Well, yeah, we can get to that. I don't know. Get to that hour later, but I was like,
let's not get to that.
the pants.
The weird pants. All right, but let's get started. Spirit Halloween. So, yeah, I mean, like promotional vehicle. I don't have a problem with that. Everybody likes to make money. I mean, like that's beyond product placement for sure.
Yeah.
I can imagine people like the makers were like, "Well, we're gonna call the movie like blah blah blah." Nah, Spirit Halloween. That's the name. But it doesn't make any sense. I'm the one signing the checks. It's called Spirit Halloween.
I know, it's interesting. It's interesting. It felt right off the bat in the very beginning. It felt like a Christmas movie in a weird way, and
because of the orphans.
Yeah. The whole time is Halloween. It felt like a holiday movie,
Yeah.
I mean, which it is, but it felt like a Christmas movie, though.
I really hope that. I'm sorry, you're gonna finish your point, right?
Oh no,
that was your point. Okay, I was gonna say I really hope that it's like the beginning of something like a Hallmark movie, where I hope there is a channel that's. I mean, there's channels that are streaming, but like Hallmark makes their own like movies, and they're shitty. And they're very formulaic, but hey, so are horror movies. So like, maybe this could be like the beginning of like, a Hallmark horror.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is beautiful in the sense that I think everyone that loves horror knows Spirit Halloween. Like you can't not know Spirit Halloween. But it was like naming every character Pepsi and just like going forward. And it was like, hey, Pepsi, how are you? I'm good, Pepsi. How are you? It was unapologetic. But that was a piece of why I loved it. Mm-hmm. And being let loose in a spirit store. Oh my God!
With the candy and the games and the costumes and it sounds amazing.
Oh yeah, yep.
With Christopher Lloyd, right. That sounds great.
Yeah, getting chased by giant plush teddy bears. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. That fucking teddy bear freaked me out, man. I was watching that and it was like, is a teddy bear? And it was just like, it might be something from my youth or something that I have not like dug into and had a chance to analyze. But oh man, that teddy bear was fucking awful. It was scary. It was scary.
That might have been a little bit of a sort of, I thought it was sort of in there for like a Five Nights at Freddy's kind of reference maybe, but I don't know. That's the horror game with the scary bear that comes after you. Have you guys not heard of that?
Yeah.
No, I have.
Yeah,
They've been like planning on making a movie for
it. And they kind of made a movie with Nicolas Cage that's essentially the movie, but
which one? The
where he
Willy's Wonderland,
where it's like
yes,
the, Chuck E. Cheese
the animatronics go nuts,
kind of run amok at night.
Yes.
But I that's what, because how Spirit Store is meant to be like. You can make your costume based on different. They have direct references to movies, and then they kind of set it up where you could like try to make something from a movie out of pieces. I can't believe we're like doing an ad. Now I'm like doing an ad for Spirit Store.
I wish you could get paid and know your worth, man.
This shirt.
Well, I mean, they're one step short of being a Spencer's. Has anyone been to a Spencer's
Not lately? But I know what you mean.
There's still one at our mall. Now, granted, there's only like 14 stores at the mall,
Spencer's.
but it is one of them.
Okay. So I was t-shirt hunting last weekend, and I went into a Spencer's because if you're t-shirt hunting, that makes sense. So Spencer's now has a lingerie / vibrator / dildo section.
They're expanding.
But it's just out for it's out for everyone to see, and they're all long and pink, and they say massager on them. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I was born at night, but it wasn't last night. I know what that was. Okay, well, good grief. Yeah. There's kids walking through the store going, "Mommy, what's that? What's that?" Oh, it's a massager. See what it says? Massager. Yeah. Yeah. No, and at least Spirit hasn't gone there yet. They still have their sort of, to Holly's point, they still sort of have their like make your own costume section. Like you can pick out pretty much anything. You can get a red wig and some fishnet and some whatever else and make whoever you want to be. But at least they haven't stooped that low yet.
That was one of the things I was kind of wondering about this movie. I was sort of looking at background stuff, the costumes and things on the shelves, and I was wondering if they were going to have
the same ones,
the like Freddy Krueger and Jason stuff that they have at spirit stores. Yeah, but there isn't any of that. It's all general purpose stuff.
No.
Yeah,
but isn't like all of their costumes, aren't they like the same thing only with like a generic name?
Yes and no. They do that where they have a generic name. Like you can buy the green coveralls, so to dress up like Michael Myers, and they just call it green coveralls or something like that. But then they have branded stuff. I think they must make deals with different properties because they had a lot of trick or treat stuff there this year, and Beetlejuice and something else. Oh, and Halloween, of course, because the movie. I think they probably wanted to tie in the Spirit Store, but
yes, that's Halloween.
Yeah,
not
Spirit
Halloween
movie, but Halloween.
Not to be confused.
Yeah, good call there.
They could do a sort of crossover with Season of the Witch Halloween and Spirit Store.
Yeah, the masks.
You buy masks at the Halloween store at the Spirit Store, and then they kill you. That would be good advertising for the Halloween Spirit Store.
But okay, I just also want to call out that Zombie. I'm pretty sure you only joined us today because you wanted to show off your really rad costume. You were like, "You guys are dressing up. Can I come to that recording?"
Well, obviously, yeah, but I wanted to. Well, no, I'm just being honest. I mean, obviously, but I wanted to see that Spirit Halloween movie, and now that I've seen it, to be perfectly honest, that movie gave me so many Halloween feels that I can barely even contain myself.
Too?
I mean,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of conversation about that last night.
What were the takes?
Yeah.
The hot takes?
Nothing about that.
I believe the term MILF was thrown out several times, which is honestly true. But this movie it's a lot like Hubie Halloween, where there's a certain level of purity to it, and I mean the whole point of, if you break it down, especially when you were a kid, the whole point of Halloween was not to be killed necessarily; it was to be scared. And the people here that watch horror movies, we all like being scared. We don't all necessarily fantasize about being killed, right? Maybe once. But that was a thing, and I got past it. But it was just watching this movie. I mean, and I'm gonna just quote this several times over this. It was so much damn fun. It was just so much damn fun. Just watching the kids. They have this goal. They're going to do this thing, And for being somebody who's loved horror movies as long as I have, like I totally get the having the really small core group of friends, sort of being an outcast, sort of trying to like, what if this cute girl likes me? And I get all it. Whoever wrote this movie and produced it was somebody who is just like us. We just haven't met him yet, So we have to like strive to get him on. Probably you should strive to get him on your podcast because he would speak all of our languages, and it was perfect.
I was going to say, even had a really cute, wholesome ending that I really enjoyed. Like the whole, like, you know, instead of fighting his new family, like really leaning into it and having his like new little sister, because yeah, they weren't related, right? It was new little sister or stepsister, right?
The stepsister. Yep.
Oh, no, yeah,
Yep.
stepsister. So sister, but not okay. So instead of avoiding her, just leaning into it and taking her out and sharing with her what he liked about Halloween, because at the end she's like a scary princess, right? And then there's his opportunity to continue trick or treating, you know, with his little sister, and then also still continue to grow up with his friends, but then also hold on to that little part that he really enjoyed. I got a little tear. So sweet.
Yeah, almost a passing of the baton, if you will, because he gave her that button early on that he gave her, and that was well, exactly. She was cute as a button, but like the passing of that button was like, I'm gonna pass on to you what I've always loved about this, and hopefully you get it eventually too. But just like I said, the feels. This movie has so many feels. It is just. And that's not necessarily what I want out of a horror movie, but with this one, it was like exactly what I needed. It was like just cover me in love and bubbles and hugs, laundry, and I was just exactly a warm blanket on a cold fall night, just like it's exactly what I need. Yeah, no, you nailed it. It was whoever did this. They didn't spend a lot of money. They didn't have a lot of creative control. They somehow got Christopher Nolan, which still just boggles my mind. But it was, I mean, it's one of those movies that like for me, for my Halloween display coming up this year, I can put this on my projector outside and I can have it going and people can watch it. And other than the one girl in her weird pants and her camel toe, I don't think anybody can be... Well, but that's the one part where it's like I want to put it on outside, but I'm a little afraid of that because I live in a neighborhood where there's lots of different people, and I don't want to. Even I've gotten to the point where I don't want to offend anybody. Mm-hmm. But I think people could watch this and just be like, "Oh, yeah, we gotta." I mean, because in the end, it's a coming together of a blended family, and just people trying to just get along and get by, and
friendship
and growing up. There you go. Perfect, Holly.
And Nana's the witch.
Yeah. So
and that actress, I can't remember her name, but almost everybody in the movie. Well, maybe I'll take that back. But there were a lot of known actors in the movie. Mm-hmm. People that I couldn't remember quite all the way through. But then, of course, a bunch that I did, and it's just not only is it taking you back because of the story, but then when you see characters or people like Christopher Lloyd and Rachel Lee Cook, then you're like, oh wait, hey! So you're already like kind of making connections in your brain that are kind of feel good stuff.
And it kind of had the feel of one of those movies,
like the '80s movies with Spielberg soundtracks.
Well, it kind of had the Goonies kind of thing going on.
Yeah, and they were definitely kind of. Oh, I was going to say they had that Stranger Things vibe. Yeah, but Stranger Things is just going off of the '80s, like Adventure Kids movies vibes.
It's the same idea.
It's the same idea, but I'm really glad that people are finally catching on that that's something that people really enjoy, and if they can capture that on film, that they're going to make lots of money.
I thought it was kind of funny, because the movie takes place in modern times, but the main kid, who I forget all their names.
It doesn't matter.
But
it's Pepsi.
Yeah,
Pepsi.
Very 80s.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he's very 80s.
Every kid was named Pepsi. Yep.
But he had his brown corduroys and his down kind of rainbow style down jacket, very 80s looking.
Yeah.
And the girl was kind of 90s looking.
Right.
And so they were kind of doing the nostalgic thing, but keeping it in the modern day.
Right. And then, of course, the whole back and forth with the cell phones. And, it was a good, dead spots still exist. I am in one. This apartment, if it's not the Wi-Fi, you can't make a phone call. It's crazy. I could die here. Anyway, but I'm just getting at the fact that there's that joke about how, if cell phones were a thing, horror movies wouldn't exist, kind of, in that world. So I thought it was kind of cool that they paid extra attention to make reasons why the cell phones weren't working and what it would tell the mom, because the mom was like, wait a minute, nah. And so then she goes to investigate So I thought that was good.
It's although as a side tangent, I think the cell phone thing is like. I think smartphones, maybe like with old cell phones like the Nokias, it was kind of like more reliable and something that would kind of save you. But I feel like with smartphones, they're not going to save you in a horror movie situation because there's always so many random issues with smartphones that it's like you can't. It's like just having having a phone is not going to save you in the moment.
Somebody has an Android.
Also, I want to say too.
Hey, so do I.
Sorry.
Easy.
But also just being able to call the cops is not an instant save. It's going to take them at least 15 or 20 minutes to get
and
there.
Texting someone isn't an instant save either.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like even if you call the police.
Well, yeah, but these are also kids, and it's like kids will go through their contacts and go,
exactly.
I don't have cops in here. Where's cops? Yeah, so they don't get that there's just 3 little numbers you need to remember. Okay, they're not going to do that.
I was just going to say, go ahead, John. You guys were saying about the movie being good and kind of wholesome and everything. I definitely, when we were picking movies for this month. And the Spirit Store movie came up. I didn't know anything about it. I just saw the title.
I still got excited though.
And I was like, we have to do this because the audacity.
Yep.
The audacity.
Same here. Same here.
Making a movie about a store is so crazy that we have to just. And I thought it was going to be super callous and just like. And
I thought it was going to be worse.
And just a total, money grab kind of thing. Well, but it did turn out to be a legit movie and be good and everything.
I thought it was going to be like, I kept bringing up the Hallmark movies because they're not good. Like they're really bad. And they're bad. The production value is really good on those where like you're watching it, like all the colors make sense. All the all the basics of movie making are there, but the acting is really, really bad. And what else? The writing is formulaic, so it doesn't matter, right? It's the same story over and over again. With this, I was expecting that, like really bad actors and bad acting, but no, they brought in solid actors, and it was great.
The kids were generally all good.
Yeah, I thought the kids were good.
Usually kid actors can be like, I'm not a fan of kid actors.
The girl was a little when she was pretending to be when she was pretending to be possessed by Christopher. Possessed. I was like, oof.
I had my one prediction where I was kind of like, it's going to be weird and creepy if Christopher Lloyd possesses the teen girl. Because you got like an 80-year-old dude inside the body of a teen girl.
When he is possessing her first and she's floating and then you get to see that it's him in her body and then she starts like, yes, and I was like, easy
I
now.
know,
Take it
easy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you think about Christopher Lloyd being 80 and her being some level of teenage girl. It's like all I can see is like a bottle of body wash and a loofah, and it's like that's all Christopher Lloyd would do because honestly, that's what I do. So it sort of makes sense, but at the same time, it's like going back to the wholesome level of this thing. They did such a good job of like keeping fear and keeping a lot of tension in this while not being weird about it. And I think for the people here, we all watch so much horror. It's like, this was, I don't know, coming into the spooky season, like full blown into it and watching so much horror and just, because I watch more horror than I would probably ever admit even to a priest if I was possessed. And this was such an awesome palate cleanser. Okay, I don't necessarily have to see decapitated heads and everything else for it to be a horror movie. It can just be scary. And that's what this movie was. This movie had moments where it was very scary, but it didn't have to have 700 gallons of fake blood in it to be, effective.
I was talking about my favorite Yeah, my favorite
It was that
part
too.
of the movie was when Christopher Lloyd has possessed this mannequin monster thing that has like one of it has a chainsaw for a hand, and then like what's the other hand? Like another weapon, a club. It's a club. That's right. And he's chasing after the kids, and he gets to the part where the kids have gone underground past this trap door, and then he's like, "I don't have any hands." He's so scary. But
yeah, where a doorknob could thwart him at that point. Yeah,
it was hilarious.
And
yes,
but that's what made it awesome, though, is that they took some like real world, like, okay, I'm all scary and I have all these weapons, and it's like, oh, a doorknob. You're like, oh shit, what do I do now? You know, and that's a part of what made it so fun. You know, it's like they brought in these like, I'm gonna be this super badass scary monster, but it's like I can't open a door because I don't have any digits. I mean, and that's just what made it so fun for me. Like I watched that movie last night. That was the first time I'd seen it. Watched it with you guys last night, and I was sitting here and I was laughing my ass off. I was laughing my ass off, but I was also, there were some moments where I was a little bit scared. And having watched horror for the 1,000 years that I've watched it, being a little bit scared is actually kind of good compared to being like this over the top in your face fear factor. So yeah, this movie was, I mean, it really did some brilliant things. And as much as I love being scared, and I'm guilty of being associated being scared with like a ton of gore and a ton of blood and skulls bursting and whatever else. And maybe I'm coming to this conclusion that maybe it's simpler. Maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe just being scared is being scared. And it doesn't have to be because someone's brains are leaking out their butthole, you know? It could just be because this is a tense situation and it's kind of fun, but kind of scary. And kind of like I said before, this brought me back to when I was young, like young. And it was like in that 12 to 14 range, and it was time to go out for Halloween, and you weren't sure if you should go trick-or-treating or should be out blowing up pumpkins or TPing or doing whatever else. Well, I don't think the movie is like a 10 on any scale. It was really good, and it was really fun, and I would not be afraid to show this to anybody, and especially kids. I think kids would like dig this movie, you know, and it's kind of like that precursor to getting into being a true horror fan. You know, this was like a really good first step to being a horror fan.
Yeah, it was very reminiscent of the first Goosebumps movie, because when that came out, I was thoroughly impressed with the amount of stuff that they were able to pull from the books into the movie itself. So that was a good like bridging point. As was this, and I gotta say, like, I really cracked up when I actually like first found the location of the Spirit Halloween store, because it's like the only building around. It's just like, of course, this is where the Spirit Halloween store would actually be.
It's an old Kohl's or Best Buy or something. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's a former anchor store of some mall somewhere, and that was the only people that would rent it, and they sold it to them for like $75 for the month.
Well, yeah, that was the funny thing was when they were, you know, there was the back area of the store where they went through the back and found the little cabin like built into the back of the store. But I was thinking at first, I was kind of like, oh, like it's kind of silly that there's this like weird back area. I mean, I'm kind of nitpicking and questioning, but I was like, oh, it's kind of silly. And then I realized, oh, wait, no, it actually works because spirit stores take over like abandoned spaces that aren't being used as like as a pop-up. And so it actually makes sense that it could be in this weird space in this place because that just happens to be in that area, you know, where they did the pop-up.
And it's cheap because it's out of the way and it's kind of cruddy. So it all fits together.
Although I was a bit confused because that house in the sort of cabin where in the back where it was tiny, I was thinking, is that the place where the mom and daughter lived at the beginning of the movie where they were going to be evicted and that's why they cursed the character? Did they live in that tiny little house where you can't even stand up?
I'm making the emoji.
I liked this movie, but I did find some aspects a little bit hard to follow. Where I was like, "Wait,
Piercers."
I was a little unclear too about the collecting the 3 heads from the costumes so that they could do the ritual.
Yeah, I wasn't clear about that as well. Was it like costumes that he had possessed, and so
That's what I was assuming.
and because he touched them, that was something that they could use.
Yeah,
solved.
And they had the Book of Lore.
Your Book of Lore, Lore galore.
Which I forgot where he got that. I was like, where did he get that book from? And then I had to remember, okay, that's the thing with like, his dad gave it to him.
I get it, yeah.
And for Halloween. But it's like, okay. It reminds me of, I don't know if you guys, Zombie, you might remember these. But if you're old enough to remember those Time Life books, there would be there would be like these Time Life books that they would advertise on TV, and there would be an Old West series of books, and then there was like a cult sort of like supernatural series of books, and they would have like one book about like ghosts and one book about like something else, and it was all kind of occult type stuff, but that book kind of reminded me of those books. Neat. You know.
Yeah. Hey, when I had to write a report for school when I was young, I had to go to my Encyclopedia Britannica. Okay, so yes, I do understand the Time Life book series. And the books, it definitely reminded me of that. There were some other things that were. So I don't know because admittedly, by the time I got done with this movie, I was fairly loaded. But hey, that's just what I do. But I'm fairly certain I saw all 3 masks from Halloween 3 in different places in this movie. I know for sure that I saw the green goblin or the green witch mask. I know for sure I saw that one. Mm-hmm. And the other ones I think I just got glimpses of. So I thought, for me anyway, I thought that was kind of cool too, that as much as they could not license merchandise for this thing and they still give these little sprinkles of things, and a lot of different horror movies that I've seen over the course of my life, I saw in this, which I thought was kind of awesome.
Definitely a movie for indoctrinating kids into
going to Spirit Halloween.
Yep, starting a new cult, Spirit Halloween cult. From them. Yep.
Oh, and another. Oh, go ahead.
Yep, I will be the founder, and there will be no Kool-Aid. There's no Kool-Aid here, so don't worry. We're just onward.
Wait, I'm mixing up my movies. Never mind. I recently watched VHS 1992.
Yeah.
I mixed up the underground movie part. Never mind. Too much.
I've only watched the first half of that, but we'll get to
There weren't any death metal bands in this movie.
No.
But I can say I really enjoyed the group dynamic of the Pepsis. You had Pepsi, who was too cool for school. I'm too old for this shit. We're not going to go out trick or treating and that stuff. You guys can have your kiddie stuff. Then you had Pepsi, the boy who's really in love with Halloween, right? And then you have Pepsi, the other one, who's the glue.
The one who's developing more
just
slowly.
Trying to keep everyone together.
Yeah. He's only a year younger, but he's 2 feet shorter than everybody.
Wait, I gotta say though, so the nerdy kid,
the middle one or the star,
the
little one,
the little one,
the little one.
Yeah, which one?
Shirt, the shirt. Sort of because they were kind of doing the Goonies and the sort of thing, not just Goonies, but kind of all those movies have the group makeup where there's
the smart one,
the smart one, the cool one, the regular one,
the average regular one that doesn't have that's the star of the movie, but doesn't have any special. Who's gonna get the girl?
But the nerdy kid, in these movies, always has to come up with a sciencey way of dealing with something, and I thought it was kind of hilarious that he basically just uses a lighter and hairspray to make a torch, and then he yells science after he does it.
It's that's not science. Okay.
I'm not a science kid, but I did that when I was a kid. I didn't know anything about science.
Yeah, we all knew what a can of Aquanet and a big lighter produced, didn't we? Yeah, fire. Yeah,
But
wow,
that
and
was
lots of it.
The part of it that kind of reminded me of a Christmas movie was the kid. Well, both kind of kids, the cool kid and kind of the main character kid, were sort of becoming. Not like the cool kid was disillusioned with Halloween, and he was like, "Oh, I'm too old for this, and this is lame." And then the main character kid, he was still into it, but he was sort of like realizing, like, "Oh, I'm getting too old for this, but I'm still into it."
He was really into it because he didn't want things to change. It was a representation of the changes in his family that he didn't accept. And so he didn't want to grow up, not just because of the candy and the whole, like, being a kid, although that was a part of it, but also because he was unprepared to move forward, and he refused to do so.
Totally. But it felt Christmassy because in Christmas movies, they always do that thing where the kid is getting older and he doesn't believe in Santa anymore. Yeah. And then there's like the real Santa shows up. And then the kid is like back into. He's like, I'm into Christmas again. And this movie kind of did that, where he was like, I'm not into Halloween, and then they were confronted by real ghosts and stuff. And then he's like, oh, this is awesome. I love Halloween.
Except in this case, it wasn't like the holy shit, they are real, like they are in Santa.
And with the costumes, I will also want to bring up because. It was interesting because the monsters they looked like actual spirit Halloween costumes. And I was kind of, for a moment, I was a little disappointed. I thought they should be making these, when he possesses the costumes, the monsters should sort of be a little more,
floppy?
Well, just a little more like cinematic, I guess.
Oh, more the opposite of floppy, like more impressive. Okay.
But then I kind of realized that in a way they kind of can't do that, I guess, because they don't want to sort of
scare kids
scare kids too much by making the creatures like too scary and realistic.
Yeah.
But I kind of thought they would do that thing where it's a regular costume, but then when he possesses it, it becomes like much more kind of scary and realistic, you know?
And just to be clear, they never go underground to a different world, right? I am getting my movies mixed up.
You're close because remember they go to the back area and there's the cabin back there that's been built into the building.
Okay, good. Okay.
So they do. It's not underground, but it's just kind of in the back area.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think for what John's talking about the creatures, let's call them, I think that they really couldn't outdo their own in-store animatronics. That was the thing they couldn't do. But like there was at least 3 shots of the jumping spiders that they have in there, and when I said last night that I have 4 of those, I was not kidding you. I have 4 of those. And those are, when my Halloween display goes up, those are 4 of the most impactful and impressive props that I have. And they're all at least 12 years old. I've had them forever. And they still work. So not every Spirit Halloween prop is great. I have the sitting up corpse one. Hey, Spirit Halloween, get your shit together because that one's a piece of crap. Okay? But I'm going all the way back here. I'm going back to what John talked about, the coming of age thing. I think we all went through that, where we had that period in our lives where it was like, am I getting too old for this? You know, too old for the Halloween and for the scares and the trick or treating. And I think probably everybody here had that moment where I'm like, am I too old for this? And yet here we are on a horror podcast talking about a horror movie. So clearly we're not. But yeah, going door to door and begging for candy and doing whatever else, I think we definitely get to that point. But the feeling and the sensation of being scared and being, you know, afraid of what goes bump in the night. I think for a certain kind of person, you never get over that, and you never get too old for it. When my Halloween comes around and it's that night, the last thing that happens at my house is I knock on the front door and my wife gives me candy because it's just what we do, you know? So, I mean, for anybody out there that listens to this and thinks that they're too old for it, A, you're not. I mean, you might be too old for begging for candy unless it's from your wife, and that's a whole different kind of begging. But just this movie, I think, re-emphasizes it. This has really done this for me. It has really re-emphasized my love of horror, why I love it, why it can start out in a pretty decent and pure place, and sometimes it goes to things like this movie. Sometimes it goes to things like Terrifier 2. Sometimes it goes to places that are in the middle. But as you're growing up and you're trying to find your way in the world, don't ever be afraid to be afraid. You know, just embrace it for what it's worth. Spirit Halloween is aptly named, I think, because it's a spirit, really. And I mean, this movie did a great job of emphasizing everything all the way up from being a parent who's concerned about your kids to being a group of kids who just want to try to fit in and do. I mean, it did so many things so well and so great. And like I said, I got feels from this movie that were just ridiculous. I mean, I just sat here and I was laughing and I was thinking about the past, and like I was texting my brother and it's like, you remember that one time you burned your eyebrows off at Halloween because of that pumpkin thing? And he was like, no. I'm like, don't you? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, shit. Okay. So, but I mean, that's, you know, I mean, picking apart our holidays and picking apart the things that we do, it's like Halloween is that one time where you just kind of like go out into the world and let your freak flag fly. I mean, speaking from the 4 people that are here that are dressed up as something that we don't do every day, because I don't do this every day. I mean, well, 2 days out of the week, but that's just what I do. But Halloween is such a magical time of year. I mean, and to me, it's even more magical than Christmas. I mean, Christmas is like the spirit of giving, but Halloween is the spirit of being afraid, and it's what keeps my blood flowing. Being afraid is what keeps my blood flowing, and it doesn't matter what kind of movies you like or what kind of movies you watch. For me personally, being chilled or being afraid is what keeps me going. It's, you know, and I'll watch a rom-com or I'll watch whatever else, but it's like no one's ever in my world going to be better than a vampire, a zombie, a werewolf, a stuffed teddy bear that really still freaks me out. It's just, yeah, being afraid is the purest of feelings, you know, and I've loved it forever. And I don't think that I'll ever stop. And I'm glad that this company had the stones to put out a movie that, while I think it is still the best marketing scheme in the history of marketing schemes, it was still really fun, and it made me happy.
I'm just gonna laugh at a company that had the courage to make a huge marketing vehicle and take it to the movie theaters.
It's funny though.
Wait, is it just streaming, or it didn't go to movie theaters? Or
no, I don't think.
It had a limited run, but I don't know like how many. But it is
interesting not to like. I know, not to give them so much credit, but I mean, it's kind of interesting though, because like the Spirit story is pretty much the only Halloween story. You know, when it comes to sort of Christmas shopping, there's, you know, every place has their Christmas stuff that you can buy. And stuff like that, and same with Thanksgiving. But when it comes to Halloween, I mean, different stores sell Halloween stuff. Like,
yeah,
you can go to, you know, like Walgreens or something like that, and they'll have Halloween stuff there. But Spirit Store is really the only dedicated
And
store for it.
they've been around for decades, right? Like, I'm trying to think of like the earliest that I remember them being around. And
Yeah, I meant to look, but I forgot. But I think they go back to the 90s at least, for sure.
And it's like it's a business plan that I didn't think. Is that you?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. We just had an earthquake, so I'm like, is that another earthquake?
It might be. I was tapping my leg. Yeah, we had an earthquake a few days ago. But yeah, no, I was bouncing my leg.
Okay, so I'm still freaking out. There was one today in San Jose. It was a 5.0 or 5.3 or something. Anyway, but I was just saying that their business plan, like I didn't see the future, but then man, they've got enough money to make a movie.
Yeah, they're still going. But yeah, no, the
good for them.
It definitely has that. It's cool that Halloween should be kind of included. I don't know if people think of it as kind of part of the holiday season, because usually it's like holiday season is sort of Thanksgiving and Christmas. But this kind of like puts Halloween in the holiday season and makes it a holiday in that kind of sense of Christmas, where it's
it's that big marker of the end of summer, the end of like the coming of winter is coming kind of shit.
Definitely. But there were a few. I did have a couple of nitpicks to kind of bring up about the movie that were kind of interesting, and just to kind of so the movie, like I feel like the movie sort of does one of the things it does well is it sort of makes itself critic proof by being sort of wholesome enough and doing a good enough job that the things that they kind of don't do well, you kind of have to just be like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a kid's movie and it's a good movie overall. So the things that kind of don't quite work or are a little weird, it's like, whatever, no big deal. But I did think it was kind of funny. I'm sure all of us to some extent, as you're mentioning, on Halloween nights would kind of run around and do crazy stuff and do mayhem and kind of have fun and stuff. But it is kind of funny and interesting that this movie is about, these kids who essentially break into a spirit store, spend the night, essentially trashing the entire place.
Yep.
And then leave with no repercussions whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then
even the mom's like, let's get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. And then my character, the poor Halloween spirit store employee, shows up at the end of the movie, and the whole place is trashed, and he's going to have to clean up the entire store. And I just want to say, like, this is kind of a nitpick, but it's not really a nitpick. The movie was good. But in movies like The Goonies and other stories like this, the authorities always become involved by the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I kept waiting for the cops to show up to the spirit store at the end of the movie, but they never did.
Then the kids were missing and never showed up.
Yeah, it's like the mom is looking for them because she's officially like, okay, they're missing and I have to find them. She never calls the cops.
That's true.
And they never become involved. And usually in a story like this, the cops would show up at the store. The whole kind of crazy third act would be happening. And then the police would see that there's such crazy supernatural events going on that obviously these kids aren't responsible for what happened. And so, they'll kind of get out and everything is fine and everything like that, right? That kind of happens at the end of Goonies. The police show up, but the kids are all fine because the police and everyone understand that the gangsters chasing them are responsible. And there was this crazy adventure. But I just thought that was sort of interesting and funny. And I think it must be sort of I'm sure they thought of it and considered it. And they didn't want to involve the police in the story because they didn't want to sort of take it there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And have it go there in that way. But it
Yeah.
is kind of funny
Yep.
though that essentially, if you kind of boil it down and take the supernatural element,
I mean,
these
they were
kids
eating
just went
candy.
in
They
there,
stole candy that they ate.
wrecked the place, and then left.
Wrecked the place, destroyed property. Because when there was that big fight, that was some destroyed property.
Oh yeah, no. When he comes in, when the employee comes in at the end, and you see everything, it's just like, oh man. But no, but it's not a big deal, as I said. But,
It's not a big deal. Let's just trash this place.
but
Well, so what you're saying though, effectively, is that Spirit Halloween stole its ending from Halloween Ends. That's what you're saying. And I maybe, yeah, like, but and you're right about like Goonies and some of the other movies, like E.T., for example. Like there were like no repercussions. But I also think back to when I was a kid. It's like when I was 13 years old and we got caught, because we did get caught. We did get. There weren't any repercussions, you know. So it's like, you know, there's a difference between being
totally.
like a hardened criminal and just being a dipshit kid.
Like they should
And I
have gotten
think
in trouble.
Yeah.
I just think there should have been a point at which the police became involved, and then they realized, oh, there's this crazy thing going on. So we're not going to really like blame the kids, but it just felt they're absent. I noticed their absence just because in every other kind of movie like this, even that weird E.T. ripoff, the McDonald's E.T. ripoff movie, they even have, you know, the authorities become involved in the end of the story. Yeah, people with walkie-talkies. And like you said, E.T., it was just sort of an interesting thing. And it was like, it was just obvious they were sort of like, well, we want to keep things kind of wholesome, so we're not going to have it become a problem that they trashed the spirit store. But
well, yeah, exactly. That's the grounded in reality part, and I think, and that's what this movie did really well. Is it was like it kept things away from like tangential to reality, right? But that's what was awesome about it. It was like, because if I was a kid and, well, shit, I'm almost 50. If I was given the opportunity to spend the night inside of a Spirit Halloween store, I probably would trash it. But just by having fun, you know. But I don't also want to go to jail. I want to get up in the morning and go to work like I have to, you know. So I think that was probably one of the coolest parts. Is like they had that moment where they kind of like all walked off into the sunset, right? And like that's what a big part of these is about. It's like, and I get it, we live in the real world. If you trash a store and shoplift and do whatever else, there's obviously some repercussions. But I love the fact that they just was like, yeah, no, we're not even going to talk about that. We're just going to like, oh, kids, you're safe. I'm so happy. And then off we go. You know?
It wasn't about the spirit store. It was about the friends we made along the way.
Turns out it's man.
Tilly and mankind is the real.
Well, sure, but I mean, the one kid is figuring out that being still in touch with Halloween is okay. You know, he's not too cool for it. The sciencey kid is like, I'm always going to be the sciencey kid. I'm going to be a little bit smarter, a little bit better than you. And then the one kid sort of was like still had his eyeballs set on the chick in the weird pants. So it's like
I enjoyed that.
Everything was perfect.
No,
it was
cool.
perfect.
We're not going to do that. Because, I mean, I guess in the Goonies, he gets a kiss, but he doesn't think he gets the girl, right?
Well, like, he does, I think, get the girl. Not only that,
he gets the girl in Goonies. He gets the girl.
Also kind of gets the girl as well. Because the other girl kind of likes Mouth at the end as well.
Gotcha, so they pair them off. So in this one, they didn't pair them off, and I thought that was very valid. I was like, yeah.
Well, and really, like, they showed the crush in the beginning of the movie, but then they didn't really kind of talk about the crush during the main part. And so when it got to that, I kind of had the same reaction she did, where I was like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Like, why are you suddenly trying to kiss her? And then I remembered, oh, that's right, he has a crush on her. But they didn't quite develop that along the way. They just kind of established it in the beginning. But still, yeah, I'm glad they didn't have them pair off, because it's just like, That's such a Hollywood trope, and there's no need for it, and they're too young for it.
The age difference is only a little bit, right? Probably like 3 or 4 years. But when it comes to that age and like high school, middle school kind of, or high school area, like it means a lot to like kids those age. You know what I mean?
What?
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, I think you're right. And with him not quote unquote getting the girl, I mean, like in Goonies gave you the my boner is okay vibe, like it did that. In this movie, it kind of took that away. It snatched away, but they were not appropriate for each other. Not even a little bit.
I mean, he would never be interested in her, but like it wouldn't go.
Well, exactly. Well, for obvious reasons, yeah. But it's like, what it did is it made it okay to be not accepted in that one situation. It was okay.
Also, they're more friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
They're closer, but they're just not a couple.
Yeah.
They're actually, they're trauma bonded now. Trauma bonded.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you can accept what's right in front of you, and you can it can not necessarily be what you want, but you can move on. And you can go on, and then going back to the whole, the sister wanted the pink princess castle and whatever else, and it's like at the very end he had her dressed up like a sort of like a pink Jack Skellington, and they were just so it's like, I mean, that was again the feels. I'm in the feels mode. Sorry. That was so awesome. That was just like, what, we can make this work. We can come together in the middle and make things work. And that's honestly, I think that was like the big note from this movie. It was like, yeah, we're not all necessarily going to agree on what's happening or how we should do it, but we can find a common ground. And especially him, with the stepsister or whatever, just like, hey, I see what you're doing. I don't necessarily like princesses in pink and whatever else, but what if we made you into a sort of vampire / skeleton princess? And she was like, ooh, interesting, but that's the stuff that makes the world go around. It's that meet in the middle compromise thing that makes everything work in the end. So this movie, honestly, love it. We'll watch it again.
Cute.
Probably we'll put it on my Halloween rotation.
It was that good. Either. I thought that movie was fun too. Yep. That's the Adam Sandler horror movie that came out like 2020.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's cheesy, but it's cute. It's real cute.
I just saw that Pennsylvania.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and it's on our rotation here for Halloween. When we get closer, and we're just rotating horror movies, Hubie is in there. Yeah, because it was so good and it was so fun, and it did not have blood and guts and eyeballs coming out of his butthole. So that's a good thing,
And the only caveat to that is more so, mileage may vary depending on how much you like Adam Sandler. That's basically
but it was like
that's true.
It was still enjoyable
and like Little Nicky because there's like some evilness going on. But there were.
I actually kind of like Little Nicky.
I didn't mind it, but I couldn't get past him making the face and the voice the entire movie. I was like, I can't. I didn't hate it though. But.
Yeah, tangent about that. The Little Nicky voice. Yeah. I was like, why does he talk like that? Everybody else in hell talks like a normal person, and he's the only person that talks in an unusual way.
Didn't they do like a bit, or maybe a part in the movie where like he got hit in the face and like it made him say that way? I can't remember if that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was with the shovel.
It's always panned as being a terrible movie, but I like
just
Nicky.
My favorite is Waterboy though, with Kathy Bates.
Well, if we're talking Adam Sandler, I love Back to School. I think is my favorite.
Back to School. Oh my god, I don't think I've ever seen that.
What? That's the one where. Or no,
Billy Madison.
Billy Madison.
Back to School.
I said Back to School. Like it was.
Like. I'll say Back to School. That was like Mark Harmon.
Mark Harmon.
Oh, you went set the Wayback Machine.
Dangerfield is Back to School.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Summer School.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Oh God. Yeah. See, you're.
Oh God. Sorry. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
That's gonna be like white hair in my butt crack when I shower.
Right. Tension breaker had to be done.
So, anyways, Yeah, no, it was a good movie. They did a good job. It was not. I mean, the movie on one hand is an hour and 20-minute long ad for the Spirit Halloween store, but on the other hand, it is also a legitimately cool movie.
They did a good job, and they got plenty of good actors. Some of which we hadn't seen in a long time, and yeah, I dug it.
When they show the outside of the store, that's literally exactly the image of the people.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm. Well, the outside, but then the walking in.
Yeah, it's
like when you see it, there's just like a warehouse
like
full of Halloween.
Looks. I was like, okay,
God,
they went
just great
accuracy.
Yes. Yep.
Oh God!
Showed up.
Oh, we're gonna get some asshole. There it is.
The cat has shown up.
There's
It's a cute cat.
Yeah. No,
from a marketing perspective, I will say, like, they very easily could have been like, you know what, let's show out like this new costume designs that we have for like the creatures, and they could have went that direction, but they didn't, which was great because they were already front and center as it was to begin with, just because they were the center stone of the actual story.
Almost it was like 80% of the location was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed the scene when they're like going to the Fright Night at the movie theater. It reminded me a lot of like Popcorn because all of the kids were actually like dressing up to like go check out, some, movies that night. But that kind of stuff really doesn't happen.
You mean going to the movie
anymore.
theater to go see a movie
Nowadays.
for Halloween and
for dressing up?
And dressing up? Oh yeah. Yeah, and that's all. I mean, like at our age, we just do like house parties and maybe shows.
Yeah, we just went to the Halloween Meltdown, which was a week or two ago, which is Saturday and Sunday.
It was the 9th and the 10th. That was early in the month.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Garage Punk festival that happens.
It's hosted by John Waters, and everybody dressed up. I was actually amazed because more people dressed up than not, and that was early in the month, the 9th and the 10th.
Well, they had a costume contest.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll prompt some dress up.
Dude, the costume contest, the hilarious thing about the costume contest, that I was there on Sunday and you were there on Saturday. The costume contest, John Waters hosted it, which was really cool. And the person who won dressed up as kind of a 1950s eyeball alien.
Oh, nice.
It was like a silver costume with like a giant eyeball head. But what was hilarious was when they won, they gave them a giant check because you won it was like a $500 prize, and they give you one of those giant checks you see. And the entire rest of the day, the person who was walking around with this giant check for the entire rest of the day. And I kept seeing them at different places in the thing, and I was just like, oh man. Like it would be. It's great to win $500, but you have to carry around a check with you for the entire rest of the.
I thought it was funny because even on Saturday
the giant cardboard check,
not a lot, but like a handful. And my favorite was that the headliner on Saturday. The headliner on Saturday is this band called Emil and the Sniffers. Are wonderful, and the lead singer is this. A blonde chick she always wears like a bikini top and like cut off short shorts and boots. And somebody was walking around dressed like her. And Joe was like, hey, it's Emil from Emil and the Sniffers. I was like, no, man, that chick's like 5'2". That was like 6 feet tall. That's somebody dressed as Emil and the Sniffers. You had to be there.
Oh, I was just down in Des Moines, and I this last weekend, and went to the haunted house that's put on by Slipknot. It's called the Slaughterhouse.
One of those really good, legit,
and
kind of extreme horror houses.
Well, it took like 45 minutes to get through this thing, so it was definitely legit. Was it the scariest thing I've ever seen? No, it was not. But we were our group got paired up with it's a group of ladies that apparently go there every year, and they dress up as old grandmas. And they all have these bubble butts though, so we call them the biddies with the booties. And going through this one room, and it was a bunch of I call it flexible pipes that are like you'd put underneath your drains on your downspouts, whatever else. And this one lady just was like having a panic moment, and she flipped this pipe back into my face, and it hit me in the face. Like busted my nose open. And so it's like I'm going through the rest of this thing, and it's like every time I got into any place that was light, people were like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I got to the end, and I just had blood all over my face, and I'm just like, "Are you sure you're fine?" And I'm like, "I think I'm fine." Yeah. So if the biddies with the booties are listening, this is your shout out. So yeah, what a fun group, and that was quite a thing. I mean, I've never seen a haunted house of that scale before anywhere. And I'm in Minneapolis, and we have the soap factory and a couple other places. This was impressive. It was so well done. It was so well done. I mean, there was no detail spared. Like even as we stood in our line, so they put you into groups, and then they move you to one space or to the next space, to the next space. The guy that was talking to us, and he was like, "So, from the first person, did you hear the rules?" And it was like, "Yes, we heard the rules." And it's like, "Well, what don't we do? We don't run. We don't touch the actors. We don't do whatever else." And the guy was like, "You've heard the rules, good." And then he put his fist out, and I was just like, and honestly, again, I was half in the bag, and I was like, "Yeah," fist bumped him. He's like, "You just violated the first rule." So he put me in a stairwell and made me stand in a corner, and he was like, for like 5 minutes, and came back. He's like, "Can you be a good boy now?" And I'm like, "Yes, I can be a good boy now." It was so fun. I mean, so I think ultimately horror as a theme or as a thing, I think it ebbs and flows, but I think movies like this that we watched tonight, I think are like a great reset button, where we like to get back to basics and just be scared and be with our friends and just like have a good time. So I think going forward, as long as we keep making movies like this, where they like kind of hit the great reset button and just be like, let's not think about zombies and ghosts and ghouls and werewolves and whatever else. Let's just get back to being scared for the sake of being scared. This movie was fantastic. I mean, and
that's kind of the thing.
Like I said, all kinds of feels.
If you have to keep it PG, then you have to rely on other things besides blood and gore. You can't just fall back on
gratuitous nudity and making blood and gore.
You have to actually kind of think about what you're doing and be more mindful and kind of like make an actual scary story. Because you can't just go, "Oh, well, then blood flies everywhere" at this part. And that was the cool thing too, was that they went with a kind of traditional ghost story kind of idea. It's the curse and a ghost that possesses things, and
they went with a nice little backstory for him too, not just like reading through like, "Oh, he was a bad man, he did this." No, we actually got to see Christopher Lloyd evict a woman and her small children.
And I knew, I don't know about you guys, I knew the whole time that the old lady was the daughter. Of course she was.
Of course she was.
Did that twist at the end to tell you, and it's like, yeah, no kidding. Obviously she's the daughter.
I actually had the reaction like, "Oh yeah," because I kind of forgot about that whole part too. I was like, "Oh yeah."
It's just like, of course. I think I forgot to look her up, but I meant to look her up.
She's famous too, yeah.
I'm pretty sure she's the maid from the Jeffersons.
I think so, yeah. She looks good.
Which another one I was kind of amazed, where I was like, "Oh my God, if that's her, it's kind of amazing that she's still alive." Mm-hmm. But then I also realized not so crazy, because if she was in her like 20s or 30s in the 70s or 80s, I guess the Jeffersons was on,
70s.
Then she'd be like in her 70s now, so that's not that crazy. But it is kind of amazing to think, somebody who's
she's probably in her 80s for sure, though. 70s, 80s, yeah. Mm-hmm. She looks good.
But yeah.
Well, with this whole movie, though, I mean, for me, one of the beautiful parts was that it didn't matter who you were or where you were or how much money you had. This movie was about being frightened. That's what it was about. It was about being frightened, and it was about being with your friends. And when it comes down to, like, for me, for like legit horror, being frightened with your friends is the best possible place that I could
alone?
be. And again, but I mean, I loved it. I loved it. It was fun. Like I said, it gave me the total feels. But it did not. What it proves, I think, is that you don't necessarily have to have gallons and gallons of blood and a whole bunch of boobs and whatever else to make something that's scary. Because this movie, that teddy bear, that I had a nightmare about the teddy bear last night. Thank you for that. Okay, my wife woke me up and she's like,
"Your mom's a bear.
You're talking about a bear. What's the problem?" And I'm like, I don't know. Well, possibly, but what it proved to me is that I can still be scared. It does not have to be the superest high budget thing, or doesn't have to be like the best story or whatever else, but I can still be scared. And I was scared by a movie that was basically PG-13. Like on its best day, it was PG-13. I think the camel toe was the PG-13 part of it. But like, I can still get in there and I can still feel it, you know? And I know everyone here watches enough horror where after a while you're sort of like, it gets a little bland, you know, and you don't like being afraid again is like a luxury. And there were some parts of this movie that I was a little bit afraid of. So I'm back in it. And this movie did it.
Yeah, this movie really uses the KISS method of just, keeping it simple, stupid. You don't need to have like these elaborate jump scares or build up to actually like have that sort of tension throughout the movie. And like on top of that too, just in regards to like capturing the spirit of Halloween, there really aren't that many genre movies out there that really hone in on that. There's only like a handful, like Trick or Treat and like Satan's Little Helper would probably be the two primary ones that I would think of off the top of my head. But this one, really brought back that too.
Treating
just
a movie that
being
treats
afraid.
Halloween as a seasonal story instead of just being a straight up horror movie, that's what John Carpenter was trying to do. I'm sure you guys have seen interviews where John Carpenter was deciding that's what he wanted to do with the Halloween movies, where he thought, well, maybe it doesn't have to always be about Michael Myers. Right. It could be like each story is a different kind of Halloween themed movie. Yep. And so Season of the Witch was about Halloween masks, but everybody, freaked out so much about that they went back to Michael Myers.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was trying to start an anthology. That's what he was trying to do. And it unfortunately it kind of died there. But like I would have been interested to see what he would have come up with afterwards, because the older I've gotten and the more that I digest the fact that I've always loved Michael Myers for what he was, but the story itself, the story of Halloween, could have evolved beyond that. And then again, having seen Halloween Ends, and it was just like, I'm so sad. It could have been something really cool. So, and so I think like T's right here. I mean, it's about keeping the mythology of Halloween alive, and not Halloween, the Michael Myers version of Halloween, just Halloween and being scared and monsters and everything else, just keeping it alive, is the big part of this. Yeah. And this movie did a really good job of that.
Oh, you got rid of it completely.
And I got a third of the bandages. They were just falling off. That's
just
like a regular Halloween party.
Exactly. Just like real Halloween, where you can only wear your costume.
Yep.
And then it gets on your nerves and you start taking it off and leaving it places.
Yeah. That's what that was my problem when I went to the store, to the spirit store to get a costume. They have all these cool masks and hats and stuff, but I know I can't get a mask because it's just
you're not gonna wear it.
Yeah, after an hour or so, or even half an hour, it gets too much, and then you have to take it off. We've got to really figure out the mask technology.
Yeah.
You know?
And I just am kind of broke this year, so I ended up just going with a cheap costume. This is the dress I wore to a Star Wars themed party. So
A Princess Leia dress.
yes, it was a Princess Leia. I had the buns too.
Nice.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, repurposing themes is always okay. I do it all the time cosplaying.
Oh yeah. No, it's about making a box and you just stick to the box and go,
costumes,
what am I going to do now?
Princess,
Oh, yeah.
Or Xena warrior princess costume.
Nice.
It's my favorite. But they're falling apart.
Well, that is unfortunate because
I might have a couple
I
pictures,
probably would have
but-
OnlyFans paid to see that. So, yeah. No. Discord, please.
All right. Well, yeah.
Just saying.
I'm so glad we did this because I know we were worried that it's like, oh, it's a kids movie. You know, we're not going to enjoy it, or it's not going to have a lot of stuff to talk about, or it's going to suck. And we all kind of thought that was going to be the case, but we thought it was like again, like the audacity of making a movie that's just a big old commercial.
Yeah.
They worked though.
Yeah, no, definitely. They pulled it off for sure. I'm sure we'll probably see a sequel. They'll probably make another one next year.
I hope they make a whole fucking channel.
Yep.
I mean, they should at this point. Then they should basically be making a new one each year for Halloween. You know, should be.
Yeah.
Just about. Yep. Yeah. The
Good.
next commercial
You can fund
for
this
90 minutes.
It'll help
Yep.
fund this.
It'll help
Well-
the store between November and then September.
I'm kind of interested now to know what the history of the Spirit Store is.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Like, is it just like a person who had the idea and was like, I'm going to do this
It's a
pop-up
nutty
store.
idea, and it's kind of genius, right? So I'd be interested in knowing more. We should have researched it a little bit, but it's like.
It does seem
And
like
where do the costumes live off season? You know, they got to live in like Minnesota
some
or something.
warehouses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know where they are.
Hey, I'm in Minnesota. Damn it. Maybe. But John was right when he talked earlier about how it's so interesting that for all of our holiday seasons that we have, there's no Santa the Christmas store or Turkey the Thanksgiving store or Bunny the Easter store. This is the only one that has a dedicated store 3 months of the year just to this. And that actually fills my heart with joy because that means that people are still into it, and you don't go into a Halloween store in October and there's nobody in there. The place is
that was
nuts to
something
butts
I
with
noticed
people.
about in the
you know?
movie too.
So,
when
I
they
mean,
go to the store during
it's-
business hours.
There's not many
I was
people.
like, there's only a few people. There's usually there's a bunch.
Yeah,
of
there's no
people
one there.
Frantically
that
looking
have-
for a last minute costume, maybe.
And the closer you get to Halloween, the shelves become barren. And
Yes.
That was I noticed that. That's awesome, John. Yeah, I thought that because it was supposed to be on Halloween night, so I thought all the shelves should have been just about empty. There's just about nothing left. All you have is the discount checkout counter candy and wristbands and shit like that.
Nobody wants to eat
The things that nobody wants anyway. Oh, that's so
If
awesome.
you walk
Yep.
in there on Halloween day or the day before, there's
Yeah.
nothing left.
Yeah.
There's a few wigs here and there, a few things
Yeah.
on the floor.
Yeah.
I do think it was also kind of funny when they started grabbing. There was that part where they were grabbing weapons to use, and I was thinking, all these weapons are beyond
Plastic, yeah.
fake.
Yeah.
Like, not only are they not,
They're lightweight.
yeah,
They're
they're
whipple
designed
bats.
specifically
Yeah.
so that even if you did swing it at someone in
Yes.
front of them, it wouldn't hurt.
It
them.
wouldn't have hurt a kid, yeah.
But it was funny when that one creature picks up that bat and it's a real bat. Yeah, it's just like,
Yeah.
Pretty sure they don't sell real bats at the.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't find this here. Yeah.
Yeah, I also got a good laugh out of like the military grade Nerf guns that the growing up Pepsi was using.
Yes,
I'm like, oh fuck! Like this is his gateway into like getting into airsoft.
Because the weird
at this
thing
point.
about that, this is another
Pretty
nitpick,
much, yeah.
is that the one kid uses the Nerf gun early in the movie, and it doesn't do anything, of course. And then he uses it again later in the movie. He gets the big, and it still doesn't do anything. Which my nitpick is that they should have done the thing where they used their lore book to sort of put a spell on the Nerf
to
gun
make them more efficient,
like,
usable.
Like holy water or something, where it's like got some magical properties. And when he used it,
soak the Nerf bullets into like holy water. Okay.
So it actually does something, because I was like, okay, you used it once and it didn't work, and now you use it again and it didn't work. But you used it in that kind of climactic, oh my god, this is the big, like we're doing something, but I don't know. Again, doesn't really matter. Ultimately, it was fine.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like, you should have blessed the Nerf guns or something like that.
That's their next movie. The kids are going into a church like in Lost Boys, and they're dipping their Nerf darts in holy water. Oh, yeah. I love it.
Can we go back to Christopher Lloyd?
Yeah.
I'm so happy he was in this. It was so sweet to see him. I wish I could give him a hug.
And then it was cool because he only had to film for probably that one day.
Yeah, and then he just went home and recorded it. Yeah, he did
yeah.
voiceovers from his house
For the rest of the movie.
in a nice comfy chair.
They don't make him have to run around.
Yeah, leave him alone.
Yep. Yep. Well, and I had the same reaction. I'm like, oh my god, he's still alive? Wow. Awesome. Okay. And just his whole, and he was like, not so much.
Little nitpick,
Yeah.
And this is
And then it goes ass over tea kettle. That
During
was
that
awesome.
scene,
Yeah.
the woman who's the witch, she sort of calls the clouds all come over. But then when they show him, you see the sky and there's no clouds. And then there's just no clouds for the rest of that scene, even though she called it all these storm clouds. I was like, oops.
Man.
Like, I guess they kind of...
Is that a waffle or a pancake? It's both.
I know.
John,
I have to suck the joy.
John just hates being young. He hates being young. And
Why? How come these kids weren't around?
That's what I want to know.
John the joy sucker. Yes, let's.
These
Yeah.
kids should be in jail.
You should write
Seriously. I'm writing an angry.
promoting bands.
These goddamn kids, and they're breaking and entering. Yeah. Book them on B&E. Yeah, okay.
What's wrong with today's youth?
This is where it starts. Yeah, the Halloween Spirit Store is the gateway drug to B&E.
There are those
it totally is.
challenges where they, the spend overnight, like in the store, where a couple recently got in trouble because they did essentially the exact thing that these kids
like a Walmart
do
or something, or
at a Target.
Ooh,
where they
nice.
hid in the Target and then it closed and then they walked around. They didn't trash the place, but they just kind of walked around, checked stuff out, but they got in trouble.
Of course. How could they not? Jeez. Yeah, but the thing is,
see, and if you're that
the beauty
stupid,
of this
you should
movie,
just be
like, the
weird out of society.
They
You should
probably
just
don't have
be.
any fucking
There's no security
surveillance.
cameras.
You're right.
It's just a padlock on an old building.
It's an abandoned building with
It is
Halloween
already
stuff.
haunted.
Yeah. The big spirits, the spirit.
Well, but I think John was right when he talked about like getting to the end of the store, like end of the season, and how the store would be empty. I mean, even if those kids went through that place with a forklift and knocked over everything, all they would be doing is like emptying the store out because they're going to box it up anyway.
Actually,
so,
that's really
like,
true.
who cares?
Because it's the day after Halloween.
Yeah.
At the morning, at the end of the movie.
Yeah. So.
Yeah,
Probably
Essentially,
should have paid these
all-
kids as day laborers to clean the store up when it's closed.
Yeah, they're basically just taking it all away.
Charging them with
There's
B&E.
nothing to like, clean up at that point. Just kind of put it all in the back of the truck and take it back to, where was it, Minnesota?
Wisconsin. One of those two, right?
Arizona.
Arizona. There we go. Leave it in the desert.
Easy
That's where I'm
on
from.
the Minnesota.
Yeah, they just pile up the stuff in the desert and then they come and pick it up later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, as a guy who has got a small spirit store in his garage attic, I'm never gonna not love the store. I'm never gonna not love what it stands for, being capitalist or whatever else. But still, this movie, I like getting to the end of it and all the things that it showed, and again, the jumping spiders, awesome, because those are just awesome. They're always going to be awesome. But I mean, this is probably one of the first callbacks to. This is going to sound strange, but like the purity of Halloween and just loving Halloween for what it is, and it doesn't have to be about blood and boobs and splatter and whatever else. It's just
endorphins.
No, they didn't. It was about being afraid. It was about being afraid, and that's like the purest form of Halloween ever. Because if doesn't matter what horror movie you go to, in the end, if you boil them all down, what's it about? It's about being afraid.
And they did.
That's why I love Halloween, because I like being afraid.
We've kind of touched on this here and there throughout the episode, but the movie also does talk about and sort of encourage the idea of doing sort of slightly questionable, slightly illegal things on Halloween night, which is a tradition, even obviously going back to, this is not so much a thing on the West Coast, but on the East Coast, the Mischief Night before Halloween, where it's a tradition that you go out and kind of have little crazy things that you do before Halloween. And this movie, and then on Halloween night, of course, as kids, I'm sure all of us to some extent, you kind of do some stuff, you go out and do some crazy stuff. And this movie actually talks about that and kind of takes that into account, that they are, going in and doing something that's not quite legal and not quite, above board, but it's all like kind of in the name of Halloween fun, and we're having a little, Halloween adventure, which is great. Mm-hmm.
Well, but it's all no harm, no foul stuff, though, right? Isn't it? I mean, it's not burning down a church or shooting cops or doing whatever else. It's all it's eggs and toilet paper and I smashed your pumpkin stuff. It's not. It's all like rite of patches stuff. It's not being a career criminal. It's, and I think we were all there once. We all get it. It's like call it whatever you want. Call it the angst of the time or whatever else. But it's like, I mean, I think this movie does a good job of showing you that being a little wild is okay. Being too wild is probably not. So, and I think that's, again, going back to my youth. This movie gave me memories and feels like I could not even describe. It was so fantastic. I love this movie. I loved it. And it took me back to a place where it was okay to step outside of who you were or who you are, the face that you show the world. Be a little wild, be a little crazy, but at the same time, don't be an asshole about it, because I think the possession thing with Christopher Lloyd, that guy was the asshole. So it's like, don't be the asshole. Just, rein it in a little bit, but have some fun and be a little wild, and that's okay.
Nice.
Right on. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we let everyone know what we're discussing next week?
Not yet.
Well, unless everyone's seen Terrifier 2. Nope. Because I know you and I have tea.
Yes.
I still
that was what I watched before Spirit Halloween.
Barbarian too.
And Barbarian, I see that.
But I did already watch. Was it 2 episodes that are available of the
Barbarian's good. Barbarian's good.
Curiosity.
Yep, I watched it for the.
It's it's 2 episodes each day: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna binge that. I'm waiting for all of it. I'm gonna go in hard and just go and just dive in.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah,
lube myself up and just go all the way in.
I know Anna Lily Amirpour's episode is one from tonight.
Oh.
Yeah.
Speaking of recent movies we reviewed with Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon.
Right.
Who was also the actor
Yes.
and the actress
Yep.
in A Girl Walks Alone at Night.
I still have to see that one. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so much that's come out. And The Watcher's out now.
It was so fucking
Deadstream.
fun.
You guys caught Deadstream? Fucking gem. Absolute gem. Like, who would have called that?
But then at the
Like,
end, wanted to-
5 minutes into it, I hated that guy so bad I wanted to just punch him in the face. And then by the end, it was like, yeah. I mean, but Andy, I mean, and I think that's probably, if like, you talked about it, I think it was last episode, you talked about horror being so fucking good this year.
Mhm.
And I think you're absolutely right. But I think that for as much as like, I loved Barbarian. I loved The Watcher. I loved Fall. I loved Terrifier 2. Sliding the scale when you get towards the indie stuff, the stuff that is never going to be in a theater, but you got to pick up on a streaming service or something like that. That I think is, and even going back to like Spirit Halloween, I think this might be a year where we're getting back to like the root, like the absolute roots of horror. And there's so much good stuff out there. So, I mean, Halloween Ends
On your
was
deathbed,
what
you're
it
going to be
was.
calling out Halloween.
Well, it was what it was.
Well, it doesn't diminish how good the year's been.
I think that's my point, but I think I'm getting back to the point where we're talking about people that are doing things on an indie scale are doing things that are fucking magical this year. They're doing things that are just magical. And having a big Hollywood budget doesn't mean much anymore when it comes to horror, because Terrifier 2,
Wow.
the movie, you know, he had a large budget, but he shot the movie for $250,000, and it did over $6 million at the box office. So, I mean, there's no Marvel movie or no rom-com that could even match that, even come close. So I think people are getting back to what horror is supposed to be about, and there's a certain level of purity that it's supposed to be about. And I think Terrifier 2 and Halloween, the Spirit Store movie, are the same level of purity. Different themes, obviously, a little bit different content, but I think they're the same level of purity. And so I'm excited to see what horror's got for the future, because it's looking pretty bright.
On.
Absolutely.
I missed it.
I mean, I've had them on for a bit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I put them on after my left eye started to water. So I was just like, I'll put them on just in case, because, you know, my sinuses can act up from time to time. But anyways, you know, it's been a good year for horror, and VHS 99, the next movie we'll be talking about, actually broke the Shudder record for most watched debut on the platform, which is great to see. And of course, we do have another installment of that, you know, coming at some point soon to Shudder as well. But we'll be talking about VHS 99 on our next episode. I already watched that one. It was fantastic. Probably not, I don't think it was as good as 94, but I still really enjoyed the segments.
I agree with
this
your assessment so
anthology,
far as well.
and I'm looking forward to talking it with you guys next week.
Yes.
And Mabel, really the one who stole the show.
She's the demon that's in the
That's what I'm hearing. I'm struggling with that one.
I haven't seen that
Yep.
one yet.
Oh, because you left early when we were watching it, so you haven't finished it, huh? Oh, cool.
Well,
and
that
that's the
segment
that I
was from the
confused,
Deadstream.
thinking that it was inside of
Just an FYI.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And that's why.
Yeah,
Yep.
Deadstream is. Yeah, I had to comment on Deadstream really quick because lately I've been watching a lot of YouTube, and and live streaming and stuff. And so Deadstream does a really good job of parodying the whole kind of streaming culture and all of that.
Wait a minute. The actress in Deadstream that plays the witch, is that the same actress that plays Mabel? Because it kind of looks like it, right?
Oh.
I think it is. Look it up to see.
The best part about Deadstream is the chat.
That I don't know.
Myself
that I don't know.
It's so hilarious. My favorite one was, is anybody else wishing that he'll just die so I can stop watching?
Or like during the climax of the movie, somebody just types in all caps "lame."
That was great.
It's so good. Or my favorite though by far was the I think it was during the climax of the movie. Somebody types, "Well, guys, I gotta go to bed. Have a good night, everyone." It's like it's so realistic the way that some of the people in chat seem to have no idea what's going on the stream. They're just typing things randomly. But
Right.
Yeah, sounds like me on Twisted Tuesday. Sorry guys, gotta go to bed. Yep.
And yes, it is. She does play Mabel. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Excellent.
The more you know. So yeah, we have VHS 99 next week. Should be a good time. And, we'll still be doing new releases throughout November as well. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, again, I want to thank Grindhouse Zombie for coming back on the show, of course, being in costume for our Halloween episode for Spirit Halloween. Thanks again.
Oh, absolutely. Now my wife is home, so I can get my clown-shaped onesie off and go take a piss finally. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Two different things. I will shamelessly say that I spent $175 on this getup just because it seemed like a good idea.
Looks like
and turned out it was.
For sure.
Been there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm at like 17 between the gauze and the hair stuff.
It is good quality. Good quality. Yeah. So you just made a way better investment than I did. So good for you, Holly. Yeah. Because like I said, I can't get there's a zipper back. I can't get this off, so I can't even go take a piss. But
if you take it to the party, then you're gonna have the added pleasure of like taking a piss completely naked.
That
Because even after somebody helps you with the zipper halfway down, then you have to go in. They have to disrobe.
Well,
just like when you're wearing a romper.
Yeah. That's exactly where I'm at. That's exactly where I'm at right now.
Extra points
I just
at this point
I just want this thing off so I can. Oh. I wouldn't even try. I just yeah. Excuse me, could you unzip me? Yeah, no, I don't think that would come off real well. But we'll see.
Police brutality.
All right. Well, let's wrap things up so Zombie can go take care of his business. But anyways, of course, the best thing to do to keep up in contact with everything going on here at Handle with Scare is to find our video content over on YouTube at Handle with Scare Pod. You can also find us over on Twitter at Handle with Scare. And we're still doing our watch parties over on Stream Lounge. Right now I'm still doing the 61 Days of Halloween, which is slowly winding down, and I'll be streaming Cabinet of Curiosities after we wrap up this recording here in a few minutes. But yeah, basically been doing a ton of genre titles, a couple of days a week normally, except for past 2 months because 61 days. But it's free to check out on PC, Mac, all that good stuff. But it's a good way to just meet more people, watch a ton of great movies. And, only caveat is, just having Tubi primarily, which is free. And you don't have to deal with the ads, so that's a big plus.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just do like the rest of us and just deep throat Halloween, because that's what we do. We deep throat it. We cup the balls. We do everything, because we love it that much.
Absolutely. So with that being said, we'll be back next week for VHS 99. You guys enjoy your Halloween, and we'll see you next time.